Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us on this uh, session. In the beginning, I would like to thank you all for attending. I know you have busy schedules, so I'm grateful that you could join us. In the beginning, I would like to thank the people from EF Education First for organizing this global event, which started early this day. And I'm thankful for them for giving me this opportunity to be part of this series of webinars that's been going all around the world. In the beginning, I would like also to tell you about EF. Now, EF is it's an institute that was established in 1965, and they have over 50,000 employees all around the world working and helping people improving their English language. Also, I would like to thank you all for attending, and I hope that this session will be enthusiastic, it will be fruitful, and you will enjoy every bit of it. I would like to make things clear before we start. In this presentation, I'm expecting that you get out with more questions than answers. So the way I put these slides, and we could talk about them, is to have you think more about 21st century skills and believe in the importance of the 21st century skills inside the classroom. The session is mainly, most of it will be for English language teachers in particular and other people who are interested in education. So there will be more slides relating 21st century skills to English language teaching. So with this said, and I would like to say also that I will be giving this presentation with other resources if you are interested to have this presentation later on. So let's get started. Now, if you can see this picture, which is something that people who have attended some of my sessions, I've used this picture to describe how we teach our students. So look, for example, on the top left corner, you can see a student who is happy going to school. You can see the smile, and then we can see the teacher or teachers, and they're trying to give them textbooks, information, and we give them so many information, those students, and we try to make them swallow all these things. And at the end, if you look at the down left corner, we can see them going to the test, and then they can tell us this information. They put it on the paper, and at the end, everyone is clapping for him. Congratulations, you have passed to the next level. But if you look at the first picture on the top left and the picture on the down right, he's happy at the first picture, and he's not at the last picture because he doesn't know what hit him, what happened. Now, this is, I would say, like a typical thing in most of our schools. Not all of them, of course, but it's a typical thing. So do we do this inside our classroom? Yeah, I believe we so. I have been attending classrooms all over my life, and I've seen this. But this is just something that will make you get a feeling of the session that we're going to talk about. So, to start with, we're going to talk about something called the industrial revolutions. And then I'm going to connect those industrial revolutions to English language teaching. So, we're going to talk about the first industrial revolution. The first industrial revolution started something around 1760s to the 1820s or 1840s, mainly in Great Britain and in America. So what happened is that the iron and textile industries, along with the development of steam engine, started this revolution. And with this revolution, society changed. How did it change? It changed by introducing a term everyone knows right now. It's called urbanization. And with urbanization, we refer to population shift from rural areas to urban areas. So what happened with that? That people, the number of people will decrease who will be living in the rural areas. They will move to the big cities for better opportunities. That's something socially that's happening. And also it started the welfare of people and how they are becoming, having more money to spend. So lifestyle also changed. And if you look at that, okay, with the increased use of steam power, water power, and also the machines. So this is the first industrial revolution. And I'm going to go back to that, and I'm going to relate it to English language teaching later on. Then we had the second industrial revolution. And with the second industrial revolution, and some people call it the technological revolution, which started something around the 1870s until 1914. And the main thing about it was the invention of electricity and oil business and steel. So electricity was a big part in the second industrial revolution. And it stopped at the 1940s during the First World War. Then we come to the third industrial revolution. The third industrial revolution, it started during the 1880s with the use of the personal computers, the internet, the information technology, communication technology, ICT. It's called also the era of automation, and also with global production networks, electronics, information technology. So it started in the 1880s. Now you can see the shift from the kind of labor needed in the first, second, and the third. They are not the same. The kind of people that we need to work in those places have changed. And then we move to what we call the fourth industrial revolution, which started in 2016. And it's mainly related to robotics. So some people call it the robotization revolution, which talk about cyber physical systems, which talks about artificial intelligence, nanotechnology, biotechnology, IoT, Internet of Things, 3D printing, and autonomous vehicles. So the third and the fourth industrial revolution, they overlap in one way or another, but it was marked in the 2016 as there is huge advancements in technology. Now, how do we see that in English language teaching. Now, if we talk about, if you look on the top left, which is IR with the Industrial Revolution, which he said went from the 1700s till the 1870s or 80s. So the feature there was rural farming and urban industries. And we talked about steam engines and mechanization. So how was English language taught at that time? They were using what we call the grammar translation method. And as of all of you who are English language experts, or we know about grammar translation method, like we call it the classical method. And in this, the students learn grammatical rules and then apply those rules by translating sentences between the target language and the native language. Sometimes students are required to translate whole texts or even word for word. Then we go to the second industrial revolution, and as I said, with the introduction of electricity, phones, the light bulbs, and then still grammar translation, and also audiolingual method. And with the audiolingual method, it's a method used for in teaching foreign languages, and also it's also based on the behaviorist approach or the behaviorist theory about certain traits of living things, especially talking about humans, that they can be trained through a system of reinforcement. The correct use of traits would receive positive feedback, while incorrect use of the trait would receive negative feedback. So correct or wrong. So you see how they are tied to the Industrial Revolution and the kind of learners needed at that time. And when we talked about also the third Industrial Revolution, you can see the kind of learners that we need. With the technology, I said the PC, the cable TV, internet, we use now communicative language teaching and learning. And then with the fourth Industrial Revolution, communication and IoT and Uber, for example, and Airbnb and all those technologies that we're using, we talk about the complexity theories, symbolic competence, task-based learning, and all these things. So you can see the journey, how the journey changed throughout the years. There is something called the 7 pillars of high performance. Now, what I'm giving you right now, as I said, will be available for you later on. I will post this presentation for future reference and for you to read more about these things. So what I'm giving you are just an overview of what I'm talking about. And as I said at the beginning, I will leave you with more questions rather than answers, so you can pursue what you can, what do you want, and as I said, if you're interested in any of these topics, you could read more about them. So the 7 pillars of high performance, we talk about global citizens, advances, performers, enterprising learners. So we can look at the mindset shift, inquiry-based learning, expertise development, practice and training, feedback, engagement of parents, and with students, not to them. I'm gonna not take too long time talking about the 7 pillars of high performance, but as I said, I will provide these slides for you later for future reading if you'd like. We're gonna talk about something, and just bear with me, Willa, and you'll see later on where I'm going on with these things. There is something called the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. I'm not sure if anyone heard of those Sustainable Development Goals, but these are goals that were designed by the UNESCO in their meeting in 2015 with representatives from all the countries around the world. And they agreed on these Sustainable Development Goals. So these are goals were put on a larger scale for the whole, for all countries around the world to work on them. And they put target to achieve these Sustainable Development Goals by the year 2030. And these goals, if you can see, they have 17 goals. We're going to focus on number 4, which is quality education. With quality education, which is number 4, and that's what we are talking about. They agreed that they're working on stats, and I'll tell you some of the stats that they have found out, which is for me is really astonishing. They say on their stats that there are more than, and listen to me please, 262 million children. 262 million children and youth who are out of school. So 262 million who don't have access to regular classrooms or regular teaching, regular learning. 262 million. And 6 out of 10 are not acquiring basic literacy and numeracy after several years in school. Now that is mind-boggling for me. So 60% of the students we teach in our schools, 60%, believe it or not, are not acquiring the basic literacy and numeracy skills. And 750 million adults are illiterate. 750 million adults are illiterate. So what does that mean? It means poverty on a large scale. So they came up with this Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, in an ambitious way to improve education throughout the globe. And they also talked about inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. And the roadmap, they were hoping that they could reach their goals by the year 2030. And I said these were adopted in, I would say like November 2015, something like this. And governments all around the globe are working to achieve this throughout the UNESCO and through Education 2030 and the framework for action. So with all this being said, then the term global competences came in, GCs, especially in ELT. So what do we mean by global competences? Now with global competences is the disposition and capacity to understand and act on issues of global significance. Globally competent individuals possesses and apply the following qualities, characteristics, and abilities to learn about and engage with the world. Educators who aspire to help students become globally competent must both develop these attributes in themselves and find ways to foster them in students. So you can see now what's happening with the students with mind caring about the world. And one way to look at it is with what we are having right now with the coronavirus pandemic, is that it's a one way of the global competence, is that you see what's going on in other countries. And that's one way of looking at global competence. And if we are in schools, we need to make sure that our students have what we call a wider perspective of the world and understand what's going on in other countries so that they can get an understanding of what's going on around the world. And for global competencies, there are what we call 4 domains. So the 4 domains of global competencies would be recognize perspectives, take action, communicate ideas, and investigate the world. We're talking about students. So what do you mean by recognize perspective? It means that students recognize their own and others' perspective. So you need students appreciate others, okay? So understand different perspectives. Take action. What do we mean by take action? We mean that students translate their ideas into appropriate action to improve conditions. So how they can convey their ideas to improve action. And also communicate ideas, which means that students communicate their ideas effectively with diverse audience. So they need to have, as I said, okay, not just one way view. No, they need to understand how they can look at from different perspectives, and they can work with diverse audience. The last one would be to investigate the world, which means that students investigate the world beyond their immediate environment. So these are the 4 domains of global competences. A few years ago, TESOL, if you know if you heard of TESOL, this Association for Teachers of English to Speakers of Other Languages, have published something called the 6 Principles for Exemplary Teaching and of English Learners. And they put these 6 principles after years of research and people working together. So they came up with 6 principles, and I would really recommend that you buy this book. It's available on TESOL's website. It's a really good book, and although these 6 principles look simple, but they can do the trick. So number 1, they say know your learners. So exemplary teachers, they learn the basic information about their students, families, languages, cultures, and education backgrounds to engage them in class. So it's important to know your learners. Number 2, create conditions for language learning. And by that, I mean to create a classroom culture for students to feel comfortable and could make decisions regarding their physical environment, the material, and the social integration of students to promote language learning. So students' well-being and being comfortable at school is looked at as an important thing. The 3rd principle would be to design high-quality lessons for language development. So lesson preparation is very important to make a successful class and a meaningful class for students to promote language learning. Number 4, which is something that we encourage teachers to do, to adapt their lesson delivery as needed. You know, in classes, you're always faced with different things, so you need to adapt. You need to observe what's going in the class and reflect on the learners' responses to determine if the students are reaching lessons objectives or not. Number 5, monitor and assess students' language development, and this is really crucial. because students learn at different rates, okay? And so teachers should regularly monitor and assess their language development to advance their learning effectively. Talking about the students. And number 6, engage and collaborate within a community of practice. And this is a really good way for teachers to come together to discuss as professionals so that they get the support about how they can improve their lessons, how they can improve their teaching and learning, regular meetings, and they could also work on planning together. So these are, in a nutshell, what do we mean by these 6 principles. Now, all of this said, we move to 21st century skills. And I'll leave time at the end for Q&A. So if you have any questions, we could talk about them at the end of the session. So 21st century skills. People refer to it as the 4 C's. So we're going to talk about each C in quickly. So, as most of you guessed, C number 1 would be critical thinking. Now, with critical thinking, when you think of critical thinking, you think of verbs like analyze. And when we talk about analyze, we talk about what we call the left side of the brain. Okay, so we have 2 hemispheres in the brain, the left and the right. So with critical thinking, we talk about the left side of the brain. So, and some of the verbs associated with critical thinking would be analyzing, arguing, classifying, comparing and contrasting, defining and explaining the meaning, describing and explaining, evaluating, explaining and telling, also very importantly, problem solving. So that's critical thinking and some of the verbs related to critical thinking and how we could use it inside the classroom. And then we talk about creativity. And when we talk about creativity, we speak of the right side of the brain or the right hemisphere of the brain, which talks about creativity. And some of the creative thinking abilities would be, as most of you are familiar with, would be brainstorming. So brainstorming would be considered one of the ways to use creativity or creative thinking. Creating something, combining material, designing, entertaining others, which involves like telling them, for example, stories, jokes, playing games, and also imaging ideas, which involves reaching into the unknown and impossible. Improvising a solution, which involves using something in a novel way, something that's unexpected to solve a problem. Innovating is creating something that hasn't existed before. So you see how critical and creative thinking work. And then we talk about C number 3, which is collaboration. And collaboration involves also brainstorming ideas in a group, which involves rapidly suggesting and writing down ideas, allocating resources and responsibilities, decision making, delegating, evaluating the products in a group and a member of group, leading a group, goal setting within the group, managing time, resolving conflicts within a group activity or a group task, team building. So these are all skills that incorporated within the 21st century skills. And the last one would be communication. So these 4 C's are something that you would be like the foundation to start and talk about 21st century skills. And also in communicating, we talk about analyzing situation, choosing a medium, for example, deciding on what's the best way to deliver your message, evaluating the message and how they could be delivered to the audience. Being a good listener is also something very important. Communicating the ideas, reading for decoding. Also, when you speak, you should use the gestures and the tone of voice, body language, facial expressions. That all help in communication, turn taking, and so on. So, if you know something about Bloom's taxonomy, in Bloom's taxonomy, it looks like this. We start at with the first 3, which we call remembering, understanding, and applying. These are referred to as what's called the lower thinking skills. And we talked about the last 3, analyzing, evaluating, creating. We'll be talking about the higher order thinking skills. So how would those 4 C's look like? So comprehension would be on the lower 3. So most of the comprehension will be about memorizing. But here where the fun starts. Critical thinking and creativity, they are within the higher order thinking skills, which are analyzing, evaluating, and creating. And these are the traits that we would like to make sure that our students are using, and that our teachers are using the methods regarding this. So a 21st century learner would look something like this. Someone who's equipped with the skills that we talked about: creativity, critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and on the top, the knowledge. So you cannot teach skills without the knowledge. So you need the knowledge, interdisciplinary, of course, which is between all courses: mathematics, English, all of them, science. And then also you need to build the character of the students. Also build on their curiosity, their courage, their resilience, ethics, and leadership. So you put all these 3 together, and we get the 21st century learner. Now this is okay. When it's said, it looks easy, but in reality, it's not. It needs people to believe in this. So you know that when you want to do something, it's not just something that you do it just to follow orders that come from the leadership people at your school or at your ministry. No, you need to believe in it yourself. And in the few slides, I will share with you something funny but for me, it means a lot. Then we talk about P21 framework. I'm not going to take a lot of time on the P21 framework, but it's something that was used by big companies, which I think in 2009, big companies like Apple, Microsoft, and also Cisco, I believe, and other big companies, they worked with educational with professionals in education to come with the P21 framework. And you look at it, it's the same thing that we're looking at: the core subjects, knowledge, the learning and innovation skills, information media, and life career skills. But this is something I'll leave it for you to look at later on. So when we develop the level of the students, they grow from level 0, level 1, level 2, level 3. And what would happen? The students will be better self-directed, and the teacher's work actually will become less, because he will go from directing we go from teaching to directing students, which is something that all of us would like to have, where students don't depend on us all the time, and the learning becomes broader. And I'll leave this for you for future reading. So this is what was done in a survey regarding when we talk about English language spoken, and the applied skills would be critical thinking, problem solving, and I'll leave this also for you. So we go now to, this is for me something very funny. If you look at this piece, we would say, I would say that this is the school principal, and she's a new teacher coming, and he's telling her, you must be a new hire. Welcome aboard. Here is our prepackaged curriculum. Look at the next sentence: if time permits, encourage critical thinking. And for me, that is very powerful. So to me, the head teacher doesn't believe in critical thinking, because he's following what's coming, but he's saying, okay, I've done my part. I told you that critical thinking is important, but he doesn't, seems to me that he believes in critical thinking. Now, let's go now to the next one, which I put them together. So let's say, for example, that this is the same teacher. Okay. I expect you all to be independent, innovative, critical thinkers who will do exactly as I say. Now that is really funny. That doesn't work this way. That really doesn't work this way. You cannot ask your students to be independent, innovative, and critical thinkers, and they'll do what the teacher tells them. No, that is, we go back, if you remember on the first slides when we talked about grammar translation and audiolingual, where it's right or wrong. There is no room for errors in that phase. But here now, students, there is a margin for errors. So, if you heard about building a tower to build a team, we'll look at a video quickly, and hopefully that we'll just watch like a few minutes before we do that. Okay, so bear with me, please.
Several years ago here at TED, Peter Skillman introduced a design challenge called the Marshmallow Challenge. And the idea is pretty simple. Teams of 4 have to build the tallest freestanding structure out of 20 sticks of spaghetti, 1 yard of tape, 1 yard of string, and a marshmallow. And the marshmallow has to be on top. And though it seems really simple, it's actually pretty hard, because it forces people to collaborate very quickly. And so I thought this was an interesting idea, and I incorporated it into a design workshop, and it was a huge success. And since then, I've conducted about 70 design workshops across the world with students and designers and architects, even the CTOs of the Fortune 50. And there's something about this exercise that reveals very deep lessons about the nature of collaboration, and I'd like to share some of them with you. So, normally, most people begin by orienting themselves to the task. They talk about it, they figure out what it's going to look like, they jockey for power, then they spend some time planning, organizing, they sketch in, they lay out spaghetti. They spend the majority of their time assembling the sticks into ever-growing structures, and then finally, just as they're running out of time, someone takes out the marshmallow, and then they gingerly put it on top, and they stand back, and ta-da! They admire their work. But what really happens most of the time is that the ta-da turns into an uh-oh, because the weight of the marshmallow causes the entire structure to buckle and to collapse. So there are a number of people who have a lot more uh-oh moments than others. And among the worst are recent graduates of business school. It's amazing. They lie, they cheat, they get distracted, and they produce really lame structures. And of course, there's teams that have a lot more ta-da structures. And among the best are recent graduates of kindergarten. And it's pretty amazing, as Peter tells us. Not only do they produce the tallest structures, but they're the most interesting structures of them all. So the question you want to ask is, how come? Why? What is it about them? And Peter likes to say that none of the kids spend any time trying to be CEO of Spaghetti Inc., right? They don't spend time jockeying for power. But there's another reason as well. And the reason is that business students are trained to find the single right plan, right? And then they execute on it. And then what happens is when they put the marshmallow on top, they run out of time, and what happens? It's a crisis. Sound familiar, right? Okay. What kindergartners do differently is that they start with the marshmallow and they build prototypes, successive prototypes, always keeping the marshmallow on top. So they have multiple times to fix, and they build prototypes along the way. So designers recognize this type of collaboration as the essence of the iterative process. And with each version, kids get instant feedback about what works and what doesn't work. So the capacity to play and prototype is really essential, but let's look at how different teams perform. So the average for most people is around 20 inches, business school students, about half of that, lawyers, a little better, but not much better than that, kindergartens, better than most adults. Who does the very best? Architects and engineers, thankfully. And
so this is just to tell you about the how 21st century skills work in a classroom. We looked at those kindergarten students. So they used the 4 C's. They worked together, they collaborated, they communicated their ideas, they were critical about their work, and they were creative. So this is like an activity that you could work with your students in order to foster 21st century skills. And I said, this presentation will not give you like hands-on activities that we'd use inside the classroom, but it will give you like an insight about how would you use 21st century skills, how would you believe in the use of 21st century skills inside the classroom. So in the Saudi 2030 vision, I will go quickly through this. We know that the vision is built around 3 themes: a vibrant society, a thriving economy, and also an ambitious nation. So this is how the Saudi Vision 2030 was designed. And also it rewards the skills and building character and competencies of the children are the most important. And if you look at here, the keyword here, skills, and at the end, acquire the necessary skills, and again, to achieve their personal goals. So there is a focus on skills within the Saudi vision. This is also related to education. So learning for working, and there will be more investment in training so that young men and women are equipped for the jobs of the future. And this is what we're going to conclude this session with, jobs of the future. And this is really important, jobs of the future. So, jobs of the future, what do we mean by that? So, employers, what are they looking for? So, 68% of global business surveyed assess their employees' proficiency in English. So is it important to be proficient in English? Yes, it is. 31 of global businesses surveyed found that jobs applicants lacked the necessary written skills in English. 7% second language speakers felt they could communicate effectively in English at work. And look at this. 91% of global businesses surveyed thought it was beneficial to the company if employees spoke English. So do you see the importance of English? 91%. So being proficient at English would guarantee you a job. 91% of global businesses, they would like people who could speak English. And 70% of global businesses surveyed found that job applicants lack the necessary reading skills in English. And we could look here at the gap in the written English language and reading. This is the gap that we are talking about. So, what will English language learners want in 2025? The British Council have published this, The Future of English to 2025 and beyond. And look at those key findings. English will still be needed, a high level of English skills, which English for specific tasks, negotiation, solving logistical problems, or presenting a new technology. Adults will need to talk tuition throughout their working life, and working adults will increasingly want flexible, personalized, purpose specific. So this will lead us to this. So these are the skills that they would be needed. They would need people who could give presentations, negotiate, participate in gatherings and in conferences, and they could network at events. Look at these skills that they would look at people. So are we giving our students the chance to present and talk and negotiate? So these all skills that needed for the workforce. So I'm coming to I'm nearing the end of my presentation. I'll be done in like 2 minutes, hopefully. So when I first looked at this picture, I thought that we're looking at people cleaning the windows. But if you look deeply, no, they're not cleaning the windows. What are they doing is they are knocking on the windows. So they are waking up people. If you have heard of this, those people are called the knocker-uppers. That was in the early 1900s, where factories and dockyards employed someone, we call them a knocker-upper. This is, I would say, like a term that few people have heard of. They need to work up workers so that they will not be late to work. So think what happened next. Absolutely, the invention of the alarm clock. So when the alarm clock was invented, those knocker-uppers were not needed anymore. So if they are not equipped with the skills, they could not find another job if their only focus was on that job alone. So let's look back at when you were at school and the teacher would tell you, okay, what do you want when you grow up? And the typical answer would be this: I would like to be a doctor. I would like to be an engineer. And I would like to be, I don't know, a pilot or whatever. These are most people looking at. But when you grow up, I want to be an app developer. No one would say that. I would like to be a blogger. I would like to be an offshore wind farm engineer. I would like to be a drone operator. I would like to be a sustainability director. What happened? These jobs were not there at that time. So these jobs require skills that our education system and our textbooks did not have information about those. So what's the key thing here? Skills. You develop their skills, and those students themselves develop, and they can work in different environments. So these, as I said, these jobs were not there before, and now, okay, they are there. So if the students were not equipped with the skills, they cannot survive in the world. So should we be worried? 65% of today's 12-year-olds will do jobs that do not exist. Look at this, 65%. Okay, so there will be new jobs created and different set of skills, different set of qualities. And I told you about what are the employers are looking for, the skills that they need. But we need to think of that we are not preparing the students for certain jobs. No, they're preparing for different world. So how do we get jobs that doesn't exist yet? We say farewell to job title and hello to skill sets. And thank you all for joining, and sorry for going, sorry for this long presentation. I hope that you weren't bored with the, it wasn't boring for you these past 50 minutes or so. I hope it was interesting. And as I said, hopefully that you could, it's something that you like. I will, as I said, I will be gathering all this presentation with some supporting documents, including things that I refer to in my presentation for you for further reading. And I hope I will post it tonight on my Twitter account if you would like, anything. So if you have any questions, I am looking at the chat box. If you would like to ask any questions, and I'm really thankful that you could be you could attend today. I mean, it was really it meant a lot for me. So. So someone said that if you could do more of these meetings in the future. Okay, I'll be delighted if you found that this is this was interesting. I will be glad that I could do something in the future. So someone said how to motivate students towards English. Okay, that's that's something that would be very very interesting. Lately, I have finished writing a book about 21st century skills, and this book is about hands-on activities that you could use inside the classroom. So it will have the activities that you want about problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communication. And I hopefully that this book will be it will be it was supposed to be available in bookstores recently, but due to the current situation, I postponed this one. Yeah, I will. As I said, I will share this. So some people are talking about classroom management. Okay, we could do that. So a new study showed that there are 2 C's that are added to culture and citizenship. Of course, I mean we talk about people added media literacy also to these skills. So it's just an opening. So people also talk about the 7 C's, not just the 4 C's. So it's just like it's something that that I just started with, but it's more coming that people talk about the 4 C's, and you could build on that. So if people looking for my Twitter account, if you go on Twitter and you write Abdulrahman الفريح, you would be able to find it. So arts is a very interesting. How would you recommend approaching 4 C's to improve quality of learning? Well, if you look at the video that I've showed you, thank you, Ms. Sarah, for sharing my Twitter account. If you look at the video that I've shared with you, it's reinforces the 4 C's together in an activity that it incorporates the 4 things together. So we could work on some hands-on activities that you could do inside the classroom, and would be really good. And as I said, you cannot have this work without believing in 21st century skills. You need to believe in 21st century skills. Otherwise, it just would be another random task that you would do, and it will not be something very beneficial. It would be something, we call it, you just tackle the surface. The surface of 21st century skills. It will just an activity you do once, you work on it for a while, and you leave it. Now this is how this doesn't work this way. No way, it doesn't work this way. The way it works is that you believe in it, and you make it part of the school culture, and something that you would do inside the classroom every day, all teachers, so that it goes from service teaching and learning to deeper teaching and learning. So we could yeah, so someone was asking, okay, the name 21st century skills look a bit old. Well, it's 21st century skills is like the known name, and now people would refer to 21st century skills as future skills. So you might hear the term future skills being used more often nowadays. So when you talk about future skills, we also mean 21st century skills. I guess this is all the time that I had tonight. Highly appreciate all of you attending this session, and I hope that it was what you wanted. It was something new. It was something inspiring, and it's something that you could work on and build on, because this is what I said at the beginning. It will leave you with more questions rather than answers. So you could look into it. I will send you all the material for your future reading. And I'm truly honored that so many of you have responded that they believe in 21st century skills. Thank you all, and happy that you could join us. And again, thank you, the lovely people of EF, for being supportive throughout this, and I wish that all of you all the best and success. Thank you very much.